Today in Social Studies, we are going to begin our study of Ancient India, which is Chapter 5. As always, there are songs at the beginning, so please go back and listen to those as they will help you learn the vocabulary, how to pronounce it, and the material. So in this chapter, you'll see that there are 5 sections. We will be on Chapter 5 through Christmas, or right before Christmas, and then we'll start Ancient China. So today we're doing Lesson 1, and we are dealing with Geography and Early India. The big idea for today's lesson: Indian civilization first developed on the Indus River. The main ideas: the geography of India includes high mountains, great rivers, and heavy seasonal rain. Harappan civilization developed along the Indus River, and the Aryan invasion of India changed the region's civilization. Okay, there is a Destination India video on the next slide that you're going to come back and watch. So a little bit about India's geography. To the north and to the west, you have mountains. To the north, you have the Himalayas. These are the highest mountains in the world. And to the west, you have the Hindu Kush Mountains, and both of these provided protection from enemies. Then the plains and the plateaus, you had rivers and melting snow, which kept the plains fertile, like in Egypt. Both sides of the river thrived, so they did well. And then there were the heavy rainfall that they call in India has a specific name. It's a monsoon. So they would have these monsoons, and they knew, just like the flooding that happened in Mesopotamia and in Egypt, they knew when this was going to happen, so they planned for it. Civilizations arose around the seasonal rainfall, so it arose around these monsoons. Here you see a physical map of India. Here are the Hindu Kush Mountains. Here are the Himalayas, Himalayan mountains, which these are the tallest in the world. And it separates India from the rest of Asia. So here we have China. Don't confuse India with Africa. Africa's over here. Okay, so Africa is right here. This is India. You can see the Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea. And you've got the elevation map here. The red arrows are the dry monsoon airflow. That would be in the winter. And then in the summer, you have the wet monsoon airflow. So the Harappan civilization. Population grew along the river valley just like it has in our other civilizations. This time, the river is called the Indus River. So it's the Indus River Valley. And you remember Indus goes with India. I-N-D, I-N-D. Growth came as irrigation and farming techniques improved, just like our other civilizations. And then cities were built as they produced a surplus of food. Remember, surplus, too much. So they can start specialization in their labor now. Some cities that you need to be familiar with: Harappa, where you get the Harappan civilization from. Mohenjo-daro. They had fortresses for defense against their enemies, and they actually had very well planned out public areas. They had wells and indoor plumbing, poetry, cotton clothing and jewelry, and also India's first writing system. So all of this would have been the Harappan civilization. So as you can see, all of this in purple represented the Harappan civilization. And all these little black dots would be individual settlements. Here's the city of Harappa, and here's the city of Mohenjo-daro. Notice they're all along the Indus River. That's what provided life. All right, so Aryan. The Aryans were a group of people from the west of India. And when the Harappan civilization dissipated, that means it declined, in 1700 BC or BCE, before Common Era, Central Asians called Aryans began taking over this region of territory that was once the Harappan civilization. The Aryans left behind vast collections of poems, hymns, myths, and rituals, and they also had religious writings that they called the Vedas. They did not have a central government. The small communities were ruled by rajas, and their language is Sanskrit. It's the root of many modern South Asian languages. There's a video on the following slide about Sanskrit that you're going to come back and watch. So the Aryans took over after the Harappans. So here are the routes that the Aryans took when they invaded, and this is somewhere around 1500 BC. This shows an example of what life in Mohenjo-daro would have been like during this time period. Remember, this was during the Harappan civilization. Next to the Indus River, this is now what is known as Pakistan. The city, they estimate, covered about 1 square mile. And like I said, they had indoor plumbing. I mean, you can see they had a nice society set up here. All right, so quick review. Harappan civilization, 2 major cities, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. Advanced civilization that thrived between 2300 and 1700 BC. They had a lot of culture, artistry, and their cities were very well planned. Then the Aryans invaded. These were South Asian warriors that pushed through the Hindu Kush mountains and settled in the Indus Valley. The oral tradition and religion and mythology resulted in the most important language of ancient India, which is Sanskrit. All right, this is the end of lesson 5.1. Next time, we're going to talk about the religion of Hinduism.